It's happening. Donald Trump will sit down with none other than Joe Rogan on Friday. Trump has made the calculated gamble that this one conversation is worth canceling all other events that day, and he's probably right. Surprise, surprise, the liberal magazine, The New Republic, is slamming this much-anticipated sit-down between the former president and the host of the biggest podcast in the world. They published a headline that calls Rogan, quote, one of the worst people ever in history. Now, Rogan is laughing this off. He actually posted that article as a badge of honor to his 500 million followers on X. It's surely to Trump's benefit to do this. He's made a concerted effort to lock in young male voters who disproportionately listen to podcasts, including Joe Rogan's. In the past few months, Trump has sat down with podcasters like Lex Friedman, Theo Von, wrestler Mark Calloway, aka The Undertaker, to name just a few.
And X is going wild over this forthcoming interview. Jordan Peterson posted, quote, hey Joe, I hear you got Trump. Congrats, grill him good and see what's there. Journalist Glenn Greenwald wrote, quote, liberals think Dick and Liz Cheney, Bill Kristol and George W. Bush are honourable and moral patriots, while Joe Rogan is, quote, one of the worst people ever, unquote, due, of course, to all the wars, torture programmes, illegal domestic spying, kidnapping, coups and mass murder Rogan implemented. Another user posted, quote, Joe Rogan finally interviewing Trump will give him an amazing boost right before the election. These long-form interviews are where Trump shines. And former presidential candidate Andrew Yang wrote, quote, so now that Trump is going on Rogan, I think Kamala Harris should publicly say she'll go on too. It's the biggest audience one can get.
I hope Kamala Harris does go on Joe Rogan. I hope she asked to do so, and that he does this. If he's going to have one on, he should have the other.
Yep.
I mean, it's his show. He can do whatever he wants.
Right.
Previously, he said he's not wanted to interview Donald Trump because he didn't want to give the appearance of helping out Trump at all. That's a direct quote from him. But of course, he's had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on a number of times. He's had Elon Musk on. He is, increasingly associated with the right, even though the only endorsement that I can remember him making was of Bernie Sanders in the 2020 campaign. And that was almost seen by something, Ryan Grimm, who I used to host this show with, pointed this out at the time. That was almost seen by panicky liberal elite media Democrats as a negative thing. Oh no, Joe Rogan is on Bernie's side. That's a tisk tisk. This is the biggest podcast audience in the world, and no Kamala Harris is, again, touting, the comparison I think is very fair, the endorsement and support of the Cheney family, who liberals, up until 5 seconds ago, considered to be Darth Vader incarnate.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Cheney thing I would not defend. I wouldn't defend it morally, and I wouldn't defend it politically either. Taking Liz Cheney to Michigan, of all places, your home state,
my home state,
seems ill-advised.
She's not welcome there.
For a Democratic nominee who's already facing some of the difficulties that we've spoken about already. But look, the Joe Rogan thing, excuse me, I think it is good that there are long-form interviews at all. One of the advantages of podcasting has been the capacity to have these very long interviews, frankly, and no disrespect to Joe Rogan, they're a bit too long for me to tune into, but I see the clips come up on social media and elsewhere. I have never fully understood exactly what the Liberal complaint against Joe Rogan is. I think he may have, did he use the N-word at some point in the past?
No, they don't like him for COVID stuff. Okay. He put forth heretical, contrarian attitudes relating to vaccine and vaccine mandates, and there was it's the ivermectin thing. He said that he took ivermectin to deal with COVID, and liberals freaked out. They called for Spotify to deplatform him. In 3 hours of talking, he doesn't pretend to be an expert on anything. He does 3 hours of talking with various people. Sometimes he challenges the guests. He's had on pro-Israel guests that he actually has challenged very much. Sometimes he doesn't challenge them. Sometimes he agrees. Sometimes he doesn't. Yeah. I think some of the things said on the show are wrong. I think some are right, just like other shows. But liberals treated it like it was, again, it's a dangerous platform for misinformation type thinking that is a little bit myopic.
Well, and presumably they will pick up on that particular baton when Trump goes on, because Trump has obviously a propensity to say hyperbolic things, to say the least.
They're going to say this is dangerous, that this is dangerous for the country, that he's being allowed to have this platform, and it needs to be shut down. I absolutely predict that that's what we're going to hear all of next week.
I do think, generally speaking, it is good to have people, whether it be Joe Rogan or other people, in that podcast space. You and I have disagreements about some things, but also I think a degree of skepticism about the sort of the cable news ecosystem and people preaching to the converted or staying within very, very orthodox trenches in who they have on, what they say, what is permitted to be said. So if people like Joe Rogan give a wider number of people the capacity to be heard, so long as it is not defamatory, of course, I don't really have an objection to that. And I think it is plainly, in Rogan's case, finding a huge audience. But even among podcasters who are less well known than him, there are obviously a lot of people who are getting a big audience from people who are dissatisfied with the existing media choices.
I mean, this show, Rising, exploded in the first place because the previous hosts before me, Crystal Ball and Sagar Enjeti, they went on Joe Rogan, and he was a fan of theirs. He was a fan of Rising at the time. Maybe he still catches some episodes of ours now every now and then. Yeah. And the channel grew tremendously just because of that showcase. It really goes to show you there's nothing else like it on the internet or anywhere. The massive audience he has of people, right, who aren't just watching cable news all day or not plugged into who primarily get their political related news from listening to this. I know, friends, family members, etc. like this who aren't so plugged into, the campaign news, sure. CNN, Fox, whatever, but they love listening to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that Kamala Harris should go on. I think
she should.
Not least because she is having real difficulties with the demographic to whom he most appeals, but also just more broadly, a long-form interview where people are not, I think, expecting every single word you say to be perfect or honed or scripted, but you're having a extended conversation. I think that could help with issues of authenticity and so forth.
An environment where every word is not expected to be polished and scripted would be playing to her advantages in some way, or lack thereof.
But that's fine. I mean, if you fluff a sentence or you mess up or whatever, that's okay. Within the context of 3 hours, nobody's word perfect for that length of time. Not even you and me, Robby.
That's right. Do it, Joe. Do it, Kamala. We'd like to see that conversation take place. That does it for our conversation today on Rising. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. For those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available wherever you can get your podcast fix. Keep writing to me. I enjoy your comments, your emails, your messages. Love feedback on the show. We'll be back here tomorrow. See you then.